Jake Morrison floated in the observation deck of Earth Station Alpha, staring at the massive crystal structure that hung in space like a jewel against the black void. The gateway had appeared 3 months ago without warning, simply materializing in Earth's orbit as if it had always belonged there. No one knew how it worked or where it came from, but everyone agreed it was the most beautiful thing they had ever seen. The crystal was the size of a city block, pulsing with soft blue light that seemed to breathe with its own rhythm. Sometimes, Jake thought he could hear it humming, a low vibration that made his bones feel strange. The scientists said it was impossible to hear anything in space, but Jake knew what he felt. Dr. Lisa Grant walked up beside him, holding a tablet full of data readings. She was the smartest person Jake had ever met, and if anyone could figure out what the gateway really was, it would be her. Lisa had been studying the alien visitors since they first came through the crystal 3 months ago. The aliens called themselves the Galactic Trade Consortium. Their leader was a tall, thin creature named Ambassador Veltar, who spoke perfect English and always smiled with too many teeth. Veltar said his people wanted to help Earth join a great community of planets that traded goods and knowledge across the galaxy. Jake did not trust the ambassador. Something about the way Veltar moved made Jake think of a snake getting ready to strike, but everyone else seemed happy with the gifts the aliens brought. They had given Earth new medicines that could cure cancer and heart disease. They shared clean energy technology that could power entire cities without pollution. They promised farming methods that could end world hunger. All the world leaders loved the aliens. President Helen Carter had signed dozens of trade agreements with the consortium. The aliens asked for simple things in return for their wonderful gifts. They wanted mining rights to collect rare metals from asteroids. They needed exclusive trading partnerships with Earth's biggest companies. They asked for permission to build small research stations on the Moon and Mars. Everything seemed fair and reasonable. The aliens were polite and patient. They never demanded anything, only asked nicely and waited for Earth to agree. But Jake noticed that Earth was agreeing to everything the aliens wanted. Colonel Ryan Blake ran the new Alien Relations Security Division that President Carter had created to keep track of the visitors. Ryan was a good soldier who asked hard questions that made politicians uncomfortable. He had been watching the aliens carefully and making lists of all their requests. Ryan showed Jake his reports during their weekly security meetings. The mining rights covered more territory each month. The trading partnerships gave the aliens control over Earth's most important resources. The research stations were being built with materials that Earth had to buy from the consortium at high prices. Lisa walked into their meeting room looking worried. She had been analyzing the alien technology for weeks, trying to understand how it worked. The results troubled her more each day. Every piece of alien equipment needed special parts that only the consortium could provide. The medicines required regular shipments of alien chemicals to keep working. The energy systems would shut down without monthly deliveries of exotic fuel cells. Earth was becoming dependent on the aliens for everything important. Hospitals could not operate without alien medical supplies. Power plants relied on alien energy cores. Farms used alien fertilizers and growth enhancers. Millions of jobs now existed only because of alien trade. Jake realized the trap was already closing around humanity. The aliens had not conquered Earth with weapons or force. They had made Earth need them so badly that saying no was impossible. Any country that tried to break away from the consortium would lose access to the technology keeping their people alive and healthy. Lieutenant Amy Foster burst into the security office with urgent news from the Deep Space Monitoring Station. Her face was pale and her hands shook as she handed Ryan a classified report. Long-range sensors had detected something the aliens had never mentioned during their friendly negotiations. A massive fleet was holding position at the edge of the solar system. Hundreds of ships, each one larger than Earth's biggest aircraft, carriers, waited in perfect formation behind the outer planets. The ships maintained complete radio silence and had been there for at least 2 months, hidden from Earth's older detection systems. Ryan studied the sensor data with growing alarm. The fleet was too big to be a peaceful trading mission. These were warships designed for conquest, not commerce. The aliens had been lying about their peaceful intentions from the very beginning. Jake felt his stomach drop as he understood what was happening. The Galactic Trade Consortium was not here to help Earth join a community of friendly planets. They were here to take over Earth using economic warfare instead of military force. By the time Earth discovered the truth, humanity would be too dependent on alien technology to fight back. Ambassador Veltar appeared on every television screen around the world that evening for his weekly address to the people of Earth. He spoke about the wonderful progress in human-alien relations and the bright future awaiting humanity among the stars. His smile seemed wider than usual, and his strange eyes glittered with satisfaction. Jake watched the broadcast from his quarters aboard the space station. Every word Veltar spoke sounded like lies wrapped in false promises. The ambassador talked about partnership, but Jake saw only slavery waiting at the end of the road. The gateway pulsed brighter in the observation window, and Jake thought he could hear it laughing. Dr. Lisa Grant worked through the night in her laboratory, trying to crack the encryption on an alien communication signal that Amy Foster had intercepted earlier that day. The signal had been transmitted from the gateway to somewhere beyond the solar system, and Lisa suspected it contained information the consortium did not want humans to see. After 18 hours of continuous work, the encryption finally broke. Lisa stared at her computer screen in horror as the translated message appeared. The words were cold and businesslike, discussing Earth as if it were nothing more than a resource to be harvested. The message detailed Earth's current dependency levels on consortium technology. 90% of Earth's hospitals now relied on alien medical equipment. 70% of power generation used alien energy systems. Agricultural output had increased 40% thanks to alien farming technology, but would collapse without continued chemical supplies. Lisa read further and discovered the true purpose of the gateway. It was not just a doorway between worlds, but a massive monitoring and control system that tracked every aspect of Earth's integration into the consortium network. Worse, the gateway was slowly releasing chemicals into Earth's atmosphere that would eventually make the planet uninhabitable for humans, while creating perfect conditions for alien life. Captain Ben Rodriguez had been chosen to lead a secret mission through the gateway, using a modified stealth shuttle. Colonel Blake had approved the dangerous reconnaissance flight after the intercepted message proved the aliens were planning something terrible for humanity. Ben felt nervous as his small spacecraft approached the gateway's shimmering surface. No human had ever traveled through the alien portal before, and no one knew what waited on the other side. His shuttle was equipped with advanced cloaking technology that should hide it from alien sensors. But Ben knew he might not return from this mission. The gateway's surface felt like passing through liquid light. Ben's instruments went crazy for a few seconds, then stabilized as his shuttle emerged in alien space. What he saw there would haunt him for the rest of his life. Massive industrial complexes floated in the darkness, each one the size of a small moon. Processing stations stretched for thousands of kilometers, breaking down raw materials from conquered worlds. Slave labor camps housed millions of beings from dozens of different species, all working under horrible conditions to feed the consortium's endless appetite for resources. Ben carefully piloted his shuttle closer to one of the processing stations, using its stealth systems to avoid detection. His cameras recorded everything as he witnessed the systematic destruction of entire civilizations. Planets were stripped bare of their natural resources while their populations were forced to work in space-based factories until they died from exhaustion. The most shocking discovery came when Ben found records of other species that had faced the same situation as Earth. Everyone had followed an identical pattern: first contact, technology sharing, economic integration, then complete subjugation. The consortium had perfected this method over thousands of years and had never encountered serious resistance. Meanwhile on Earth, Ambassador Veltar was increasing pressure on world leaders. President Carter found herself trapped between impossible choices as alien technology became essential to keeping human civilization running. Every day brought new demands disguised as reasonable requests for expanded cooperation. The aliens wanted exclusive mining rights to Earth's ocean floors. They requested permission to build larger research facilities in major population centers. They suggested that human children should begin learning consortium languages and customs to prepare for full integration into galactic society. Colonel Blake's intelligence team worked around the clock to document every aspect of the alien infiltration. They discovered that the Gateway was doing more than just monitoring Earth's atmosphere. It was also sending detailed scans of Earth's military capabilities, resource locations, and population centers back to the consortium fleet. Dr. Grant made an even more disturbing discovery when she analyzed tissue samples from humans who had been treated with alien medicine. The treatments were slowly altering human DNA, making people more docile and less likely to resist authority. The changes were subtle but permanent, and they were being passed on to children born after the treatments. Captain Rodriguez returned from his mission with proof of the consortium's true intentions. His recorded evidence showed that Earth was designated as the new capital world for the consortium's expansion into this part of the galaxy. The plan called for complete atmospheric conversion within 50 years, followed by the relocation of Earth's human population to labor camps on distant worlds. The timeline was already in motion and could not be stopped using conventional methods. Earth had perhaps 6 months before the atmospheric changes became irreversible. After that point, humans would slowly suffocate as the air became unbreathable while alien colonists arrived to claim their new homeworld. President Carter called an emergency meeting of the world's top military and scientific leaders. The evidence presented by Blake's team and Rodriguez's reconnaissance mission left no doubt about the consortium's hostile intentions. Earth was being prepared for conquest through the most sophisticated deception in galactic history. Lisa showed the assembled leaders her analysis of the Gateway's control systems. The massive crystal was the key to everything the aliens were doing. It controlled the atmospheric conversion process, maintained communication with the hidden fleet, and provided the power source for all consortium operations in the solar system. Jake Morrison realized that destroying the Gateway might be humanity's only chance for survival. But the alien structure was protected by energy shields that could deflect nuclear weapons, and it was surrounded by automated defense systems that would destroy any approaching spacecraft. The meeting ended with a terrible understanding. Earth was trapped in a web of technological dependency that grew stronger every day. The aliens had been patient and clever, making humanity complicit in its own destruction. Fighting back would mean giving up all the medical advances, clean energy, and agricultural improvements that now kept billions of people alive. But the alternative was extinction. The consortium had never allowed a conquered species to survive as anything more than slave labor. Earth's children would grow up as property of an alien empire, working until they died to build weapons for the next conquest. Colonel Blake left the meeting with orders to begin planning humanity's last desperate gamble for freedom. Jake Morrison stood in a hidden underground facility built beneath the Colorado mountains, watching as Earth's best scientists and military officers gathered for the most important meeting in human history. They called themselves the Terran Liberation Front, and their mission was simple but seemingly impossible: find a way to destroy the Gateway before Earth became uninhabitable for humans. Dr. Kevin Hayes was a brilliant quantum physicist who had spent his entire career studying exotic matter and dimensional physics. He believed the Gateway's power source could be destabilized, but it would require precise timing and massive amounts of energy focused on exactly the right frequency. One mistake would simply make the Gateway stronger instead of destroying it. Kevin explained his theory to the assembled group using simple diagrams drawn on an old blackboard. The Gateway used exotic matter to bend space and time, creating a tunnel between distant points in the galaxy. If they could disrupt the exotic matter core at just the right moment, the resulting implosion would tear apart the fabric of space itself and close the tunnel forever. Engineer Paula Martinez had designed weapons systems for the military for 20 years, but nothing in her experience compared to the challenge of building a device that could destroy something made from technology thousands of years more advanced than anything humans possessed. She needed to convert Earth's entire nuclear arsenal into a focused quantum disruption device. Paula worked with teams of scientists and engineers around the clock, designing a weapon that existed only in theory. They would have to combine nuclear fusion with quantum field manipulation, while maintaining perfect synchronization across multiple warheads. The slightest error would result in a conventional nuclear explosion that would barely scratch the Gateway's protective shields. Captain Rodriguez continued leading reconnaissance missions through the Gateway, gathering intelligence on alien fleet movements and defensive capabilities. Each mission was more dangerous than the last as consortium security forces began searching for the source of the unauthorized intrusions into their space. Ben discovered that the alien fleet was much larger than anyone had imagined. Thousands of warships waited beyond the edge of the solar system, supported by massive factory ships that could build new vessels using raw materials stripped from conquered worlds. The consortium commanded resources from over 2,000 planets and had never encountered serious military resistance. President Carter played an increasingly dangerous game, appearing to cooperate with alien demands while secretly supporting the Liberation Front. She authorized the construction of hidden weapons facilities and the stockpiling of nuclear materials, all while maintaining the facade of willing partnership with the consortium. Carter met with Ambassador Veltar every week, listening to his smooth lies about the benefits of galactic citizenship, while knowing that every word was designed to make humanity more dependent on alien technology. She smiled and signed agreements that she had no intention of honoring, buying precious time for the Liberation Front to complete their desperate preparations. The aliens grew suspicious as Earth's compliance began to slip. Several mining agreements were delayed by bureaucratic problems that had never existed before. Shipments of rare Earth elements arrived late or contained materials that did not meet consortium specifications. Technical problems plagued the construction of new research facilities. Ambassador Veltar delivered increasingly harsh warnings about the consequences of failing to meet treaty obligations. He reminded Earth's leaders that the consortium had been very generous in sharing advanced technology, and that this generosity should not be taken for granted. The hidden fleet began moving closer to Earth's outer planets. Colonel Blake's intelligence network intercepted more alien communications as consortium forces prepared for the final phase of their conquest. The atmospheric conversion process would accelerate dramatically in 72 hours. After that point, the chemical changes to Earth's air would become irreversible, and humans would have less than 10 years before their planet became uninhabitable. Lisa Grant worked frantically to understand the Gateway's control systems, searching for any weakness that could be exploited. She discovered that the massive crystal structure was not just a doorway, but also a quantum computer that processed enormous amounts of information from across the galaxy. Overloading its computational capacity might create the opening the Liberation Front needed. Jake Morrison coordinated between all the different teams working on humanity's last hope. Scientists raced to complete the quantum disruption device, while military units prepared for the most important battle in human history. Everyone knew they would only get one chance to strike before the aliens realized what was happening. The underground facility buzzed with desperate activity as hundreds of people worked 18-hour shifts to prepare for the assault on the Gateway. Nuclear warheads were modified with exotic matter resonators that Kevin Hayes had designed using captured alien technology. Paula Martinez's engineering teams built focusing arrays that could channel the explosion's energy into a precise quantum frequency. Amy Foster discovered that the aliens had been monitoring Earth's communication networks far more extensively than anyone realized. Every phone call, internet message, and radio transmission was being analyzed by consortium intelligence systems. The Liberation Front had to abandon all electronic communication and rely on hand-delivered messages to avoid detection. Captain Rodriguez reported that alien patrols around the Gateway had increased significantly. Automated defense platforms now surrounded the crystal structure in multiple layers, each one equipped with weapons that could vaporize an approaching spacecraft in milliseconds. Getting close enough to deploy the quantum disruption device would require a direct assault that few humans were likely to survive. Dr. Hayes completed his calculations and delivered the final requirements to the Liberation Front leadership. They would need to penetrate the Gateway's shields and place the quantum disruption device within 100 meters of the exotic matter core. The device would have exactly 30 seconds to charge before the aliens could respond with countermeasures. Paula. Martinez presented the finished weapon to Jake Morrison and Colonel Blake. The quantum disruption device was the size of a small building and would require a team of specialists to operate it properly. Once activated, it would destroy everything within 1,000 kilometers of the gateway, including any spacecraft that delivered it to the target. Jake realized that destroying the gateway would be a suicide mission for whoever volunteered to pilot the assault craft. The explosion would happen too quickly for any escape attempt, and the exotic matter implosion would tear apart space itself in the immediate vicinity. Earth's freedom would be purchased with the lives of its bravest defenders. President Carter received the final intelligence report from Colonel Blake's network. The consortium's timeline was accelerating ahead of schedule. In 48 hours, they would begin the irreversible phase of atmospheric conversion. The hidden fleet was moving into attack position around Earth's moon, and Ambassador Veltar had stopped pretending to be friendly. Time had run out for preparation and planning. The Terran Liberation Front would launch their assault on the gateway in 24 hours, or humanity would lose its last chance for freedom forever. Jake Morrison strapped himself into the pilot seat of the assault craft, carrying the quantum disruption device, knowing he would never see Earth again. Around him, 12 other volunteers checked their equipment one final time before the most important mission in human history. Every person aboard the spacecraft had volunteered for this suicide run, understanding that Earth's freedom required their sacrifice. The quantum disruption device filled most of the cargo bay, its exotic matter, resonators humming with barely contained energy. Dr. Kevin Hayes had worked through the night making final adjustments to ensure the weapon would penetrate the gateway's defenses. One mistake in the calculations would mean their deaths accomplished nothing. Colonel Blake coordinated the multi-pronged assault from Earth's command center, watching as teams around the globe prepared to strike simultaneously at alien installations. They had one chance to catch the consortium off guard before the superior alien technology could respond to humanity's desperate gambit. Dr. Lisa Grant activated her computer virus from a hidden laboratory beneath Geneva, sending the malicious program into the alien communication networks through hijacked consortium data links. The virus was designed to exploit the interconnected nature of alien technology, spreading chaos through their command systems at the moment of maximum vulnerability. Captain Rodriguez led 3 squadrons of modified fighter aircraft toward the alien advance fleet that had moved into Earth's outer atmosphere. His pilots flew converted military jets equipped with weapons reverse-engineered from captured alien technology. They knew their inferior spacecraft stood little chance against consortium warships, but they only needed to buy time for Jake's mission. President Carter appeared on television screens around the world as the battle began, revealing the truth about the alien invasion to 7 billion shocked humans. She explained how the Galactic Trade Consortium had deceived Earth into economic dependency while planning to exterminate humanity and steal their planet. Mass demonstrations erupted in every major city as people realized they had been betrayed by the aliens they had welcomed as friends. Millions of humans took to the streets demanding freedom from consortium control, while others attacked alien facilities with improvised weapons. The carefully maintained facade of peaceful cooperation collapsed in a matter of hours. Ambassador Veltar dropped his mask of friendliness as reports of human resistance reached his command center aboard the Gateway Station. His true form was revealed as the polite diplomat transformed into a cold predator who had overseen the conquest of hundreds of worlds. He ordered immediate retaliation against Earth's major population centers. Jake's assault craft accelerated toward the gateway as alien defense systems came online around the massive crystal structure. Automated weapons platforms emerged from hidden compartments, filling the space around their target with deadly energy beams. His team's modified shields held for precious seconds before beginning to overload under the concentrated fire. The first alien counterattack struck Earth's largest cities with weapons that turned buildings to dust and left massive craters where millions of people had lived moments before. New York, London, Tokyo, and dozens of other population centers vanished in brilliant flashes of light as the consortium demonstrated the price of resistance. Rodriguez's fighter squadrons engaged the alien fleet in desperate aerial combat above Earth's atmosphere. Human pilots used their knowledge of atmospheric flying to outmaneuver alien craft designed for space warfare. But the technological gap was enormous. For every alien ship destroyed, humanity lost 10 fighters and their brave crews. Lisa's computer virus reached the alien command networks just as Jake's assault craft penetrated the gateway's outer defenses. Consortium computers began experiencing cascading failures as the virus exploited security vulnerabilities that had never been tested against human creativity. Communication systems crashed and weapon targeting systems went offline. Paula Martinez watched from the underground command center as her quantum disruption device approached its target. The exotic matter resonators were functioning perfectly, building up the precise energy frequency needed to destabilize the gateway's power core. They had less than 5 minutes before the aliens could deploy countermeasures. Jake fought to control his damaged spacecraft as alien weapons tore through the hull around him. Half his crew was dead or wounded, and the assault craft was bleeding atmosphere through dozens of holes. But they were close enough now to see individual details on the gateway's crystal surface. The massive alien structure pulsed with increasing urgency as its computer systems detected the approaching quantum disruption device. Defensive barriers that had protected the gateway for thousands of years began to weaken under the combined assault of human weapons and Lisa's computer virus. Dr. Hayes monitored the quantum disruption device from his console aboard the assault craft, making final adjustments as they approached the point of no return. The exotic matter core was reaching critical resonance, and they had 30 seconds to reach the optimal detonation distance before the weapon would fail. Colonel Blake received reports of catastrophic damage from around the globe as the alien retaliation continued. Entire countries were being wiped off the map by weapons that turned matter into energy. Earth was paying a terrible price for its attempt at freedom, but there was no turning back now. Amy Foster coordinated communications between the scattered human resistance forces as alien troops began landing in major cities around the world. Consortium soldiers moved through the ruins with ruthless efficiency, eliminating any organized opposition they encountered. Humanity was losing the ground war badly. President Carter and her government retreated to underground bunkers as Washington disappeared in a blast of alien fire. Her final broadcast to the world called upon every human being to resist the invaders, regardless of the cost. Earth would rather die fighting than live as slaves to an alien empire. Jake's assault craft reached the gateway's exotic matter core, just as the quantum disruption device achieved full resonance. He looked through the viewports at the beautiful, crystal structure that had deceived humanity for months, knowing that in seconds it would become the most powerful bomb ever created. The weapon activated with a sound like reality tearing apart. Exotic matter collapsed into itself as space, and time warped around the gateway's power source. The massive crystal structure began to implode as dimensional barriers broke down and the tunnel between worlds started to close. Jake Morrison and his crew vanished in a flash of impossible light as the quantum disruption device tore apart the fabric of space itself. Their sacrifice created a cascade reaction that propagated through the gateway's entire structure, destroying the alien portal and severing Earth's connection to the Galactic Trade Consortium forever. The explosion sent shockwaves across the solar system as the gateway collapsed into a singularity that consumed itself and disappeared. For the first time in their history, the consortium had been denied a conquest, and the price of Earth's freedom was written in fire across the sky. Colonel Ryan Blake stood on the bridge of humanity's first true warship, hastily converted from a damaged space station that had survived the alien bombardment. Through the reinforced windows, he watched the scattered remains of the consortium, fleet retreating beyond the outer planets. The aliens appeared stunned by the loss of their gateway and the unprecedented failure of their conquest plan. 6 months had passed since Jake Morrison and his team destroyed the alien portal in their heroic sacrifice. Earth bore terrible scars from the brief but devastating war that had cost over 50 million human lives. Entire cities lay in ruins, reduced to radioactive craters by weapons that humanity was only beginning to understand. Dr. Lisa Grant worked frantically in her rebuilt laboratory, using captured alien technology to reverse the atmospheric changes that the gateway had been making to Earth's air. The process would take decades to complete, but her calculations showed that the planet would remain habitable for humans. The chemical alterations had been stopped just in time. Without the gateway to maintain their supply lines, the consortium, forces that had landed on Earth found themselves cut off from reinforcement and resupply. Human resistance fighters hunted down the stranded alien soldiers with growing success, using guerrilla tactics and captured weapons to eliminate the invaders one by one. President Carter had died when Washington was destroyed, but her successor continued the policies of complete independence from any alien influence. The new Earth Defense Council united all surviving nations under a single military command dedicated to preventing future alien incursions. Humanity had learned that they were alone in a hostile galaxy. Paula Martinez led the development of new technologies based on captured consortium science, but with a crucial difference. Everything was designed and built by human hands using materials found on Earth or in the solar system. Never again would humanity depend on external sources for their survival or prosperity. Captain Rodriguez, now promoted to Admiral Rodriguez, commanded the growing fleet of defensive vessels that patrolled the solar system. Human engineers had reverse-engineered alien technology while improving upon it with human innovation and creativity. Within 5 years, Earth ships would be superior to anything the consortium had ever built. The cost of freedom had been enormous. Major cities around the world were still being rebuilt from the ruins left by alien bombardment. Millions of children had been orphaned by the war, and entire regions remained uninhabitable due to exotic radiation from alien weapons. Earth's economy had collapsed and was slowly being rebuilt from scratch. But humanity had proven something that no species in galactic history had ever demonstrated. They had shown that freedom was worth any price, and that humans would rather die fighting than live as slaves to an alien empire. The consortium had never encountered such fierce resistance to their expansion. Dr. Kevin Hayes worked with international teams to establish defensive systems around Earth's solar system. His quantum disruption technology was being adapted into early warning sensors that could detect alien ships at vast distances. No enemy would ever again approach Earth undetected. Amy Foster commanded the new Space Reconnaissance Division, using modified stealth ships to monitor the retreating consortium fleet. Her pilots reported that the aliens seemed confused and uncertain without their gateway to provide communication with their homeworlds. For the first time in thousands of years, a consortium conquest had failed completely. Lisa's analysis of captured alien databases revealed the true scope of what humanity had accomplished. The Galactic Trade Consortium controlled over 2,000 worlds and had never been defeated in their long history of expansion. Earth's resistance had sent shockwaves throughout their empire as conquered species learned that freedom was possible. The genetic modifications that alien medicine had made to human DNA were slowly being reversed through treatments developed from consortium medical technology. Future generations of humans would be free from the subtle psychological conditioning that had made people more compliant and less likely to resist authority. Earth's new government established strict policies regarding any future contact with alien civilizations. All negotiations would be conducted from a position of strength, with human warships providing security and human scientists verifying every claim made by potential trading partners. Trust would have to be earned through actions, not words. Blake received regular reports from deep space monitoring stations that tracked the movements of the retreating alien fleet. The consortium ships had withdrawn to the edge of the solar system and appeared to be waiting for new orders from their distant home worlds. Without the gateway, communication across galactic distances would take years instead of seconds. The reconstruction of human civilization proceeded slowly but steadily. New cities were built with defensive considerations in mind, incorporating underground shelters and hardened communication systems. Every major population center was protected by orbital defense platforms armed with quantum disruption weapons. Paula's engineering teams had successfully replicated every aspect of consortium technology while eliminating the built-in dependencies that had trapped Earth in the alien economic system. Human fusion reactors provided clean energy without requiring exotic fuel cells. Medical equipment functioned perfectly using synthetic compounds manufactured on Earth. Rodriguez's fleet grew stronger each month as new warships rolled out of orbital shipyards built from salvaged alien materials. Human spacecraft incorporated the best features of consortium design while adding innovations that alien engineers had never considered. Earth's defenders were becoming a force that could protect the entire solar system. The final report from the Terran Liberation Front documented the complete scope of humanity's victory over the Galactic Trade Consortium. Earth had not only survived, the most sophisticated conquest attempt in galactic history, but had emerged stronger and more unified than ever before. Lisa discovered that other species throughout the galaxy were beginning to rebel against consortium rule, inspired by Earth's example of successful resistance. The alien empire that had seemed invincible for thousands of years was starting to crack as conquered worlds demanded their freedom. 10 years after the Gateway's destruction, Earth stood as a beacon of hope in a galaxy full of enslaved civilizations. Humanity had learned the harsh lesson that they could trust no one but themselves to secure their future among the stars. The price of freedom had been paid in blood and suffering, but it was a price that every human agreed was worth paying. Blake looked out at the stars from his command ship and smiled grimly. Earth was alone in the universe, but humanity was no longer helpless. They had the strength to defend themselves and the wisdom to never again trust alien promises of friendship. The galaxy had pushed too hard, and Earth had responded by slamming the door shut forever.